that sound means we are live here on our YouTube channel, Tackle Trading's Halftime Report, our daily stock market show where we actually do a lot more than that. I guess financial market show where we go through commodities and stocks and currencies and even the cryptos here today. We are going to take a peek at that chart on Bitcoin, break down all the news, the analysis, and give you guys insight that we have here as coaches at Tackle Trading to help you get through your daily routine. Welcome out, everybody. And on today's show, many things that we're going to be discussing. Stimulus. The Republicans are actually going to propose their $1 trillion relief bill as an opposition to what the House did back. I believe that they passed that in April or May a couple of months ago. It's been going on, waiting for a response to that. We'll break down some of that information and that action. We had an outbreak of COVID in one of the MLB teams. Sports were back over the weekend. We'll have a talk about COVID and what's going on there with the market response to it. Moderna got more money on their phase 3 kind of trial for the vaccine. They're actually going to be giving that to 30,000 people. Pretty interesting data there. We're going to take a peek at that chart and more across the market. Big week of earnings actually is probably the big thing that we have out here today. 200 companies on the S&P 500 reporting earnings this week. We'll kind of give a preview to what we're seeing across the board. We've got Mark doing analysis today. We've got Matt running the screen over there and also giving analysis like he always does. Cody producing on the back end. Welcome out, everybody. If you're new to our channel, give us that thumbs up, give us that subscribe, and click the bell. Come back and join us every day. We do this every day. The markets are live. And if you're a veteran, hashtag Team Tackle in the chat. We love it when you guys participate. So let's have some fun here today. Let's get down to the action. Maddie, how you doing today, sir?
You know, Tim, I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here with the crew to break down the markets for the week and get everybody excited for the week that is. I mean, we're sitting at support. Who doesn't get excited when we're sitting at support?
I like support bounces for sure. Yeah, especially.
What do you like more? Coming into the week, sitting at support, or coming into the week threatening a breakout?
I don't mind a threatened breakout. What drives me crazy sometimes when you prep the entire weekend, you come in on Monday morning, something happened in the news, and you miss
like 2.5% and gap up, destroy triggers, right?
Yeah, destroy your triggers and all that kind of stuff. So
is that the most frustrating thing in the market right now? Is gap up destroying triggers?
It's been that way during the run. I mean, it's been very bullish. And Monday morning, Mark, Mondays have been bullish. We were joking earlier. We came in, we were talking as a team here in pre-production, and Cody says, well, it's Monday, the market's up, because Mondays have been kind of bullish.
Any day that ends in a Y, I suppose.
It's pretty true.
No, I think, what about you, Chucky? Market sitting at support or threatening a breakout? Which one do you get most excited for coming into the week? Because when you're sitting at support or coming in or threatening a breakout and you confirm, you could have a really decent trading week.
No, and listen, I am always a sit at support kind of guy. And that would be particularly true if we didn't have rampant COVID and geopolitical tensions with China and a Republican Senate that is going to...
Songs go up, Chucky.
Dude, I know that. And that's why I'm always lobbing my puts, right? Yeah. So, but... like, man, there's a lot of weight on this market right now. There's a lot of weight on this market, but and God, there's so many things to talk about. This, tech's up today, carrying the market. It's the market so wants to rotate into other areas, and yet at the first sign of things, oh my gosh, things are a mess. Let's just go run back into tech. It's why last week's tech sell-off was not the end of days. No. Is because valuation is never going to be the reason tech sells off 20%.
But rotation also doesn't mean that everything goes down all the time either. I think people, when you're new to the market and you're hearing things like sector rotation, you might think, well, that means tech's going to sell off. No, tech's still bullish and it's going to have its days. There's no doubt about it. I got to go back on a thought though for a second. Maddie, did you really just ask Mark if he'd rather have stocks at a low point or a high point?
I wanted to see if I could catch him.
We were talking about
I wanted to see if he's like, yeah, those breakouts are real strong, and I really love the momentum behind the breakout. And I was like, all right, he must have a good night's sleep. No, I don't think we're seeing rotation here today. I think you're seeing safety plays, and that's the entire stock market. It's just a safety play at this point. It's safety out. It's safety away from all the nonsense that happens in the world today. But no, I prefer the market sitting at support. That's what I prefer, because if support confirms, guys, I mean, you could have a really good trading week.
No, and I mean, we saw that the last time that it gave that serious support of 3,000 on the S&P. When that held, nothing really changed from a macro point of view. But when support held, it was like the green light to go up for 2.5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So support tests are really, really critical.
Yeah. Well, and the S&P sitting on support's also at a key level because it's near that old pivot point. Let's start with the S&P 500 if we can here, Matt. And obviously markets have been bullish here for several months. Let's start with the chart just alone. I mean, we're right on that 9 EMA, Matt. What are you seeing in that chart? Just quick technical read.
A quick technical read is you broke out last week. You set a higher high. It was not the momentum we thought we may see upon this breakout. It did over the last week and a half. It did kind of just kiss off this previous old resistance right there at 3230. Once you establish that higher high, now you're forming a bullish flag-based pattern, which is similar to the bullish retracement. The only difference is really you don't come down as deep and you don't have the length that you do in the bullish retracement. So whereas a bullish retracement might come into, say, a 38% retracement number, a 50% retracement number. A flag will come down 2 days, 3 days, retrace 21 to 38%. So it's got a little bit of a narrower retracement channel. It doesn't have the length that a retracement does, but it's very similar bullish mentality here. The profit taking did not take too long over the last couple of days. You're kind of coming into that support level right here. You see the old high base support level right there at about 3180 by 3200. You're in that zone right there at 3200. Inside candle, nice little inside candle here, right at Mark's girlfriend, the 9 EMA, which is going to be that first level of support that you really kind of test. It's not the major support. It's not the ultimate support, but that 9 EMA is that first support level you test in a high base, in a flag-based pattern. That's what we're testing on Friday. That's what we came into the weekend testing there earlier on Sunday. And then obviously the cash open here on a Monday morning. You got that inside candle, nice little bullish harami flag-based pattern. Confirmation would have to go above the previous day. But we're threatening that right now. You got to like what you see with the inside candle. You got to like the momentum you're seeing in the overall marketplace right now. And this is a buying opportunity coming into the market. This is what you want to see coming into a Monday morning. Mm-hmm. If you on Thursday and Friday, down day market sold coming into that support level. The only thing you want to see coming into a Monday is a nice inside candle. I don't care what the news is. You got your inside candle. Let's see if we can confirm.
Yeah. And that inside candle is obviously going to help setups across the market, no doubt about it. And if we get a little pivot above that red candle, that's going to be a strong signal in that regard.
And very quickly, Tim, I mean, when you're talking about the concept of confirmation, there's a lot of stocks out there that have already confirmed, mm-hmm. right?
Yep.
We're looking at broad market to see if the broad market can really confirm, seeing all those shiny little new precious stocks go up and up and up. But when you're looking at the concept of confirmation, you can talk about breaking this down. 30-minute chart is my favorite intraday chart to really kind of work off as a short-term technician. Outside of day trading, day trading 1, 2, 5, 15-minute charts, that type of thing. But the 30-minute chart is just my personal favorite. Others might have a 15, others might have an hour, but the 30-minute chart is my personal favorite. And when you're talking about confirmation, you're looking at this 2-day downward movement of price. Now, this is the high of Friday right here. This is where you would talk about with traditional confirmation. Traditional confirmation would be above the previous day's high. That's right there at 3240. So if you can get back up above that 3240, you're talking about a lot of room to run to the north side. However, when you're looking at the intraday chart, if you want to be a little bit more aggressive on confirmation, you're looking at the intraday chart here and you see a little slowing momentum and trend. You see a double top scenario. This is an inverted hammer type technical signal on the intraday chart here. You have the left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and in between that, you got a nice little horizontal head right there at 3223. So if you wanted to be more on the aggressive side of it, you're looking at that 3223, probably 3225. You did see it test up above that level, just briefly came right back down underneath. And that's what the aggressive confirmation does. Sometimes you get a little bit of a fake out there. But right now, that's the aggressive confirmation would be, in my opinion, about 32.25, and the more traditional, consistent, conservative confirmation would be above the previous day's high at 32.40.
Mm-hmm. You know, some of the optimism here today that is attributing to this green candle across most of the indexes is being given to some of the stimulus conversation that's happening in Washington, Mark. In fact, the White House and the Senate have been meeting and talking about some details that are going to go into this new relief bill that they are aiming at about $1 trillion. The House that passed their bill a couple of months ago that sent it to the Senate, where the Senate didn't really even discuss it, was more like $3.4 trillion or $3.2 trillion. Many differences between the two sides, but the optimism is definitely giving way here today. Mark, is that justified? Is that warranted?
Listen, I want to say, where's the optimism? Okay, first of all, if you were playing at home, we had the over under of 4 on the amount of headlines justifying and relating to stimulus. We're 1 for 1 today. Market Watch's opening headline was stocks open mostly higher as stimulus prospects brighten. And if you watched any of the Sunday shows, if you heard any of the comments out of McDonald and Schumer or Pelosi or Baghdad Bob, I want to know where the optimism is on the current stance. Hey, if you want to have hey, this deal's going to get done, we're all on that same page, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone thinks eventually the deal's going to get done. That's cooked in. But the Republicans want to piecemeal the legislation. That was crystal clear. They want to pass narrow bills or piecemeal bills in the short term, which would include money for schools, unemployment insurance, and pandemic-linked liability protections. They want to focus on that right at the start instead of this one all-inclusive bill. Democrats say that's a non-starter. The Republicans have also said that they want to cut the federal unemployment benefits to $200 a week, while states can figure out how to implement their 70% of wages plan. So, and at the end of the market day today, after the market closes, hey, you always drop good news after the market closes, right? That's when they're supposed to release all of the details. So, is there progress in the sense that something is actually going to be put forth? Sure. But we'd hope that would happen, right?
Let me give you a preview of what Nancy Pelosi is going to say. Hell and no. They are not going to piecemeal this bill out and then not include some of the stuff that the Democrats want. Now, can they negotiate, and are they going to try to do it on good faith from both sides? I do believe there will be a deal, but they're not going to break this down into individual components and just let the Senate
That's
get
what
every
Republicans
provision.
Signal, Meadows, Mnuchin, all of the boys in the band, because there are no women in the band because Trump only hires white men in his administration. But all of the boys in the band, all were saying the same tune. They want to piecemeal this out. They want to focus on a very narrow set, and they don't want to debate a whole huge bill. What's the Democrats' response to that? I don't know.
They're going to say no. Is what they're going to say. I mean, Pelosi already said that yesterday, pretty much. No, we're not going to do that. Can they come together and find a middle ground? You bet. But I guarantee that's going to be a negative driving headline at some point when the House rejects that Senate proposal, Mark. I mean, this is going to go back and forth for some time. The details that are in the Republican side, the White House wants, we do know they do want to get that $1,200 stimulus check out there again, it sounds like.
Yes,
correct?
Yes.
Yep. And we do know they want to include
very quickly on the $1,200 stimulus check. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of, debate between the Democrats and Republicans regarding that $1,200 stimulus check. The only debate is the total amount of revenue that you could make in 2019 or 2020 to get that $1,200. Right? That's the only negotiation there. Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much all on page of getting that part of it done. They also want to include some federal relief for unemployment mark, but I've heard that 70% mark. It's going to be hard for the Democrats to push for $600 a week. I guarantee the Republicans that is a non-starter for them, as well as liability coverage. So there are some talking points, but it's the same old thing. Are they going to get money to the states and the local
Oh,
governments?
they're adamant, $0 allocated, and they don't want to debate a larger bill. And this is going to be the most fascinating aspect. Does the Senate come out and pass $200 a week, or liability protection, or some combination of a narrow bill, and force the Democrats to act on that, creating this political theater, right? There, eventually, whether oh, and another thing on this that I found very interesting, and I saw this on, I don't know if it was Sunday or Saturday, and I remember sitting back and said, oh, really? Mitch McConnell came out and said, you know, we're making progress, and hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we can get something through the Senate and pass it on to the Democrats in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And I was struck by the phrase, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Not a lot of urgency there, right? Not a lot of urgency there. And McConnell, whatever you think of McConnell, he is a old school gangster politician. Things don't just casually slip out of his mouth.
Really? Why was he crying on the Senate floor 4 months ago?
Because things don't casually slip out of his mouth.
That was pre-planned 6 months ago. McConnell had to work up those tears for 6 straight months. Do you know the effort McConnell had to put in training to get to the point where he could actually cry in public?
Oh, he had Tom Cruise come in and give him personal acting lessons on that one.
You don't give him enough credit for the acting in that role.
It was.
Listen, McConnell's a gangster, man. He did not. And then I found that very curious.
Top Gun too, by the way.
Oh, I can't wait to see Maverick in Top Gun. Yeah. Oh, theater. I'm gonna wait. Another story, another day. But McConnell's a gangster, and to show that lack of urgency, that hey, in 2 or 3 weeks we're going to get something to the Democrats, and then to have Meadows come out and basically say the same thing, basically saying, you know, in a few weeks, this few weeks thing. And it makes me wonder how purposeful it is, because there's real serious infighting in the Republicans on spending any money. Our boy Rand Paul out of Kentucky, who I like Rand. I don't care what anyone says. I like old school fiscal conservative.
He's not like his dad, though.
You know, oh no, not like Ron, but still, you know, he's one of the closest things to an actual fiscal conservative we have. So I like him. I like him too. He came out and he joked. He's like, yeah, I just got done with a meeting with Republican senators. And so, you know, and then
Rand Paul said that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Then, you know, Ted Cruz, in referring to the bill a few days ago, says, not only am I a no, I'm a hell no on this. There is real division amongst Republicans on spending any money. And so I wonder if this delaying it out 2 or 3 weeks, like push it off, is a tactful strategy. Now we'll find out soon enough, right? But long story short, lots of political theater going on, and there's lots of chances in the coming weeks that Market Watch headline, let me read it verbatim again, stocks open mostly higher as stimulus prospects brighten. They just change a few words in their headlines, and stocks open mostly lower as stimulus prospects dampen. You know, it's a nice thing to be an editor. Cut, paste, take a few words out.
Well, I agree with that. You are going to have the positive headline and the negative headline, and it will drive some of the price action. The market has to assume, though, they are going to pass something, and it's so amazing to me. We're talking about $1 trillion, bill, $1 trillion of stimulus and relief on top of the 3.7.
$1 trillion. You're going to be closer to that $2 trillion tag.
Right. That's where they'll negotiate it. But even at $1 trillion, and the instant thought is, well, it's not enough. It's not enough money, Matt. $1 trillion bucks. No, we need $3 trillion bucks. Now we need more.
That's why you're going to see it closer to that number.
If it comes in at 2 trillion, S&P goes to all-time highs. It just does.
You think so?
Yeah, no, because market's priced in anywhere between 125 and 1.5, with the off chance that none of this stuff works out anyways. Low percentage, but you do hear scuttlebutt. If they pass close to 2 trillion, this market goes to all-time highs. You'll have a huge ramp up.
Well, it's going to be interesting political theater over the bit. And obviously, we'll be talking about that day by day as we get more information and more clarity on actually what this bill is going to look like. I'm sure we're going to break some of that down tomorrow. As I look across the market, obviously, the green candle inside candle, that technical setup is always there. The news driving around the markets today, usually we've been talking China, Mark. Give me FXI if you can here, Matt. But remarkably, quite frankly, over the weekend, we had very little chatter out of China. Mark, why is it so quiet?
No,
we just closed the constant.
Whoa. Didn't it feel good though? Let's start there. Didn't it just feel good?
It did. I did.
No. Silence scares me. Listen, I can take the Global Times editor in China saying, Americans, you guys are jerks. We hate you. I can take that, because that just, silence scares me. But like China closed the consulate in Chengdu, known event. We knew that at the end of the week. And then the weirdest thing this weekend is neither side, neither United States nor China, said a word on the matter. Now you can take that in one of two ways. The optimist says, hey, tit for tat, it's over, it's done. We can move on. We don't want to deal with this right now in election season. The pessimist would say that silence speaks volumes and somebody's plotting their next move. So Maddie, which one do you want to be?
I'm the optimist.
I'm in the optimist here by far. I didn't even think the negative camp on this. I just thought this was 48 hours where we didn't have to deal with it, and it was fantastic. I didn't take it anywhere other than that.
Maddie, how do you unpack these charts? Because I'm still interested in Chinese tech in many ways. That failed pivot kind of blows up the daily candlestick analysis. But if you think about where that gap came from back at $41 on the FXI, I mean, we are now gap filling and we're still above some moving averages. This is just that classic deep pullback, which I know can be difficult for swing traders. How do you unpack that chart right there?
Failed bullish retracements that violate support levels are no longer technical setups that you want to trade. It's as simple as that to me. It honestly reminds me, and I want to get Mark's take on this. It reminds me that when the entire world got on that bullish retracement in the distressed area of the markets, and it lasted 2 days before that pivot failed. And then have we had hardly any swing trades in the distressed areas up until like just the last week and a half? None. There's been no trade setups. And so when you had FXI, skyrocket, retrace into the rising 20, up 2-3 days in a row, failed pivot, violate that support level. Now you're sitting on the last ditch effort that China could hold this bullish trend, because if you break back down underneath 4160 here, you're no longer in that bullish trend. Not even the position traders could withstand something like that. Swing traders are out here. For the most part. They might not be out on all Chinese tech, but they're out on the analysis that Chinese tech is in a bullish retracement and it's just buy train. For me, the failed bullish retracement really kind of just woke me up a little bit to the reality that this is probably just a nice little gentle reminder. This is probably the area of the market you want to focus least on, in my opinion. And the only reason is this. It's very sensitive to that news cycle, very, very sensitive to that news cycle. And so to me, I think there's a lot of other tradable instruments. I had a different opinion a week and a half ago. I like that bullish retracement like a lot of other people like that bullish retracement. But once that fails, you got to readjust to the situation. And right now you're sitting at support. I understand the position traders coming in at support. I do. But for the swing traders, I just think this pattern just got blown up and they're looking somewhere else already. Swing traders, the swing traders got the attention span of my 11-year-old daughter. Like if it doesn't work right now, right then, they're moving on to something else. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, they like, oh, you remember that one time we were looking at this trade on this? Swing traders have no loyalty to anything. Zero. They're Bitcoin. They have no loyalty. None at all. Just does whatever it wants.
Well, in fact, I think to have the proper mindset of being a swing trader, you can't have loyalty, because if you get stuck on a
No.
chart just because you think you like it so much, you're not reading the price action for what it is.
So
Price
what?
action is king.
The pattern failed. It happens. But
Yep.
even in some of the best trading systems out there, what are you talking? 55% win-loss rate
Yeah.
on swing trades?
Yeah.
Some of the greatest traders I ever had read about or met had like a 48 to 52% win-loss rate on swing trades. Some of the greatest ones out there. So yes, when something fails, the 5 minutes you spend on it doesn't mean you want to spend the next 5 years analyzing it.
Oh, you can be net profitable hitting 40% of your trades. And if you're out there and you are swing trading, I'm not saying that has to be your target win-loss ratio, but you have to understand your job is not necessarily to hit 90% of a swing trade. I think
No.
people have a
And that
failed
40% was
expectation.
with commissions, Tim.
Yeah.
40% was with commissions. And so without commissions, you're probably right around 38% to really kind of break even. And that's if you have a standard 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio. But let's say it's 42% because you don't hit that 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio. You don't have to be perfect. Not at all do you have to be perfect. But the point is, again, once a technical setup fails, I'm mapping out FXI, guys, just in my head here, the things that it would take for it to set up as a great swing trade. And again, I'm talking broad market here, not individual components. It would take weeks for this to set up as a proper swing trade at this point. That's what happens when technical setups fail.
Yeah, back and forth consolidation, and then eventually maybe a breakout or something like that. But now that it did blow that chart up, no doubt about it.
It would have to come back up, back down, and then break out of 43.75. The double bottom, that would be more of a position trade type setup. This is not a failed bullish retracement, is not a swing trade setup. It's just not.
Back on the NASDAQ for a minute, if we can here, Matt. We're going to look at all the sectors here in a little bit, but the NASDAQ chart I think is interesting. I do want to get you guys' perspective on it. Obviously, the 9 is now coming down to pinch. Is that a pinchy poo there, Mark? Your 9 coming into your 20?
Listen, if you swing trade the NASDAQ, then you're bet. I mean, listen, Thursday. We got a huge week, don't we, my friends, my brothers, my boys.
Yeah.
I mean, we got an FOMC meeting. We got stimulus talks. We got who knows what happens or doesn't happen with China. And most importantly, we got a massive week of earnings, including 3 of the biggest market cap companies the history of the world has ever seen in Alphabet, Amazon, and Apple, the 3 A's, all on Thursday. Massive thing. It's a day trading market in tech, the Qs this week until earnings.
Thursday, we also have the GDP for Q2, which is expected to be the worst ever, by the way.
Yeah, but they'll finagle the numbers.
They'll find a way to price it in. Yeah.
Matt, so a huge, massive week. So like on tech, like whatever setup it produces, right? Well, Thursday's the big, huge, massive $4 trillion in market cap event with earnings. So any bet on a swing trade, you're betting through earnings. I mean, Amazon, Alphabet, and Apple represent what, like 35%, 30%, 28%, some huge, massive number of the Qs as a whole. And as they go, so will tech. So, on tech, you gotta. I mean, if you buy on any reversal signal ahead of Thursday, you're going right through earnings. And that is, for some people, they just don't like that risk.
Matt, give me a read on that chart, if you will. Obviously, you're kind of testing this little support zone here, and there's a tail down there that you could say, okay, that's where it is, or here, there, or whatnot. But we're now below the 20-period moving average and the 9 EMA for the first time in quite some time. Matty, what are you seeing on that chart?
I'm kind of with Mark this week. We got 5 days in the week. We're starting it out right now, and you're in front of just a tremendous amount of just in this space. You're talking about a tremendous amount of earnings reports, but in general, this is the biggest week that is in this earnings season. You have your Apples, you have your Amazons, you have your just in the tech space. Okay, I'm just going to give you just tech space numbers. You have Apple, Akamai, AMD just in the tech space here. Apple is obviously the big dog, the big one everybody's going to be looking at this week. But overall, just this week, you have a plethora of other type of companies reporting earnings this week too. You have over 209 companies that are large cap companies, $10 billion companies or above. And obviously it's led by the big 4 this week, Apple, Amazon, Google, and Facebook. And they just so happen to also be on the Hill talking antitrust this week.
Oh, also, that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
and that too, right? So to me, I mean, even if the technicals supported it, I think you'd be a little cautious in this space this week. But with the technicals showing weakness, double tops, double bottom scenarios, consolidation, it's going to take some time for the NASDAQ to really establish itself as a better technical type trade. And at this point, where the NASDAQ is, this is just where my head is at, guys. But I'm thinking breakout or deep retracement here is what I'm thinking.
I mean, really, I'm with you. I mean, the only other alternative would be a test. I mean, this isn't much of a call, deep retracement breakout, but a third possibility is you come up and test those highs, can't break, and you got this 5-6 week consolidation pattern. Like, there's a lot of unknowns, man. Like, there's a lot of unknowns. Like, for me, like on the Qs, like I lobbed a naked put down in the 220 range expiring next week. And that was about the best I could do to figure it out in the next 10 days with all of the unknowns. Because if you got a deep retracement, it will eventually get bought up. There's a lot of people who would see cheaper prices in tech and be like, oh my gosh, I have to do something. So, but yeah, it's going to be, those earnings are going to be fascinating.
And in the scatter report meeting on Friday, obviously a week that is this week, you're going to have a limited number of like the types of picks in that space. But there's still some really, really, really good setups in industrials with that holding up, in consumer discretionary staples, 3 financial stocks. We're seeing a little rotation there. I mean, usually we have a lot of the bigger names out there. We had to do a little bit of a deep dive to find the better technical setups, and that's to be understood given the fact of the depth of the information that is going to be coming out to the market this week.
Mm-hmm. An interesting question in the chat here. I want to get you guys' take on it. Would you hold Microsoft through this week in the face of other tech earnings? I mean, when the other big names are reporting.
It depends. Are you talking an investment? Yeah, you're holding through. You're not going to worry about an earnings report on an investment. You got to deal with them 4 times a year. You're not going to get out and get in front of, get out of earnings and then back into earnings on Microsoft. If it's anything other than an investment, no, I don't think you should be holding through earnings.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
I agree 100%. Like, if you're in Microsoft, no, I don't think
maybe a cover call or something like that. I mean,
I don't think this is
you should never ever hold cover calls to earnings though.
But it's not their
earnings, but he's asking other people's earnings with all the other tech earnings. I mean,
okay, other earnings. Yeah, again, if it's an investment, you're going to be holding through many earnings reports. And I also, with Microsoft, obviously there's a little bit of a shakeup, a lot of anticipation for Microsoft coming into this report this week. With the other earnings this week. But I just, it's Microsoft, right? You're not going to get in and out of a long-term investment here.
No, but and from a trading point of view, that's not a pretty chart. We've had the most. We are below the 20-day moving average for 3 straight days now. That's the first time that's happened since March. You've had a trend line get broken. You've had short-term support get broken. Listen, separate the name, and that's hard to do. Whether you're a new trader or an advanced trader, it's so hard to separate the name because we all 3 of us love Microsoft. It's one of our favorite fundamental companies. It has very much some recessionary proof COVID type, not recessionary, but COVID proof type earnings numbers 2 quarters in a row. But that chart's ugly. That chart's ugly, and it's going to be a while before that's a pretty chart again. So
that's the double top, double bottom with a violation of support, Mark. I mean,
it's an ugly chart. There's no way around it.
If you remove Microsoft from the equation there, that's a short-term reversal pattern that typically does lead to a deeper retracement.
I mean, it's always a good exercise to put your most hated company and insert it. And it's like, if this was my most hated company in this chart, would I be getting excited to short?
If this was Bitcoin, would you buy, Matt?
Bitcoin, or like, listen, if that was Tesla for me, I'd be like, oh, wow, momentum's over, man. Bottoms, like there's, but because it's Microsoft and I love it, don't change the fact that it's an ugly chart.
That's interesting, Mark. So Matt's just putting in different symbols. So like if this was just some other random company, would you be seeing it the same way that you're seeing it if you have that bias, that cognitive bias around certain companies like GE? Would I want to buy that right there? Not a chance in the world. Yeah. So I like that, Mark. I think it's a cool little mental exercise. I got a lot of individual company news I do want to get to here in just a bit.
I agree with Adam. Real quick in the chat, just a wonderful way to think about it. Collar it or close it. I think that's a wonderful way to think about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I like that. That could be a meme, Adam. Collar it or close it. I'm expecting that on Twitter at some point. Within the next hours.
Only 1,400 people in the entire world would get it. Now, those 1,400 people would really, really like that meme. But,
but there's a lot of that 1,400 people that are Tackle Trade Pro members
that are here right now. That's right. I would enjoy it. I would enjoy it
too. I like it. Collar it, close it. Who would be the actor on that meme?
Ooh, it's got to be like a Leo DiCaprio type thing, right?
No, I was thinking Al Pacino.
I like that.
Tough. De Niro, Pacino.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's like got to be somebody, some mafia. Pacino, De Niro, Pesci. It's Pesci from Goodfellas. Pesci. It's got to be Pesci.
Funny how. Like you think
exactly. Gotta be Pesci.
Oh, all right. Crude oil, the commodities next, Matt. Let's kind of run through them. Crude oil, I'm not seeing anything that's worth spending more than like 2 seconds on this chart. Marky, any updates on crude?
Dude, you already spent 2 seconds prefacing that you don't want to spend more than 2 seconds. Listen, when there's something to see in crude, we'll talk about it. For weeks now, there's not.
Mark,
if you want to
how long have you been analyzing crude? Like, not today. I'm talking length in history.
Many, many years. It's my favorite trading instrument.
We're over a decade, right? Decade plus.
It is my favorite trading instrument. Crude oil is. Yeah.
Can you remember a time where crude did what it's done over the last 6 weeks?
This chart, listen, it's 2020, so all rules are off. Everything's manipulated. Stonks just go up. Everything's a big freaking joke from a fundamental perspective. I've never seen that chart on crude. That slow live on the 20 slow moment. No, never seen it. Don't understand it. I'm a stay away. If I get a big sell off, I'm a buyer because I think the fundamentals are a break even right now. And so if I get a 20% clip in crude, I'm a buyer because all of a sudden the fundamentals are the same, right? Assuming nothing changes. But this chart, I don't get it. I don't understand it. So
you
if you were to say crude's going to basically go stagnant, like it just got bought out from Apple over the last 6 weeks, I mean, who would have analyzed that one?
Mm-hmm.
No,
it's insane to see crude do this. Now maybe I'm wrong on this, but it has gotten me off crude, Chucky.
And the one thing is I wonder, because I've been speculating about this recently, because USO, they went and they were one of the biggest future buyers of contracts previously, and they changed the nature of their ETF to have it be not as much front month. And I wonder if the reducing the volatility in the front month and it's not just USO, lots of other ETFs, a lot of those other ETFs went bankrupt. And so there's less participation in the ETFs in the crude front month contracts. And I wonder if that suction of volatility has changed the dynamic of price action in crude permanently.
That's interesting.
Obviously an early thesis on it, but it makes sense from an intellectual level. It makes sense from a volume level. And so that lack of volatility in these contracts tied to the front month contract in crude oil makes a lot of sense. Now, obviously it's just theory. There's no way to prove it, but man, it's a funky chart.
Well, yeah, and I would be interested to know how many of those front month contracts were being traded through instruments like USO that are now no longer being traded. But if the beta does come down or the volatility comes down over time, Mark, that would be an interesting thesis. Still very early to call that.
And it would also
very interesting idea.
Side conspiracy theory. And if you don't know me, listen, there ain't a conspiracy theory that I won't work through. Side conspiracy theory, the lack of participation amongst the USO and all the other ETF contracts at this point also opens up room for individuals with an interest in stabilizing the price of oil to stabilize it whether it is a conscious level on a conspiratorial level, or just algorithms buying every freaking time it hits the 20. It's it's just freaky. It's freaky.
You know, the one guaranteed way to have a conversation longer than 2 seconds to say that you didn't want to, and then obviously it's just going to happen every time. Crude Light, I actually found all of that insightful, actually, Mark. So I did want a conversation a little bit longer. I do not want to stay on this chart anymore, though. Go to gold if we can, silver. I want to take a look at the metals here, Matt. In fact, finally, the public is really starting to see these headlines hit the news wire. This is becoming very euphoric. It's all over every, kind of financial market news site at this point. Gold hitting into these prices, Matt, is now taking out some levels that are very, very impressive. We're at 1930 on it. What are you seeing in gold, Matt?
Same thing I've been seeing for a very long time, Tim, and there's nothing that I've seen in the last week or week and a half to get me off the freight train on gold. It's my favorite tradable instrument. There's not a close second. It's my favorite instrument. My silver's the tradable instrument of the two.
We got to take a moment to celebrate the hitting of an all-time high today in gold. An all-time. Let's see if we close there. Futures close really short here on these gold contracts, but hitting an all-time high, July 27th. If you had July 27th in your office pool of when you'd hit out, you win the money.
I read the most ridiculous headline. I think it was on Market Watch today, where it said analysts could see $2,000 gold by the end of the year. And I'm like,
wow, I can see $2,000 gold by the end of the week, maybe, right?
Analysts concede. It's like they finally
can see. Can
see. I thought you said concede. I was like, okay.
Well, maybe he is conceding.
Finally.
Now, I've shared this with Tim, but if everyone at home, grab your popcorn, because Matt has the potential of erupting about what I'm about to say. All right, so I'm watching CNBC this morning because I have CNBC on in the background, oftentimes for mockery, but, I'm like the markets, like it, even if it's noise that I don't like. Somebody asked Jim Cramer why gold was going up. Matt, what do you think Jim Cramer said?
I honestly don't know.
He said,
I'm scared though.
You should,
because people are betting that a vaccine won't happen.
It might be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard him say.
People are betting that a vaccine won't happen.
So people are buying gold because they don't think a vaccine's going to happen. Yeah, that's why they're buying gold, not just the trillions of dollars of stimulus that are flooding the market and a weak dollar and low real interest rates and a flight to safety and all these other reasons. So it's because of a lack of vaccine.
This segment is brought to you by everybody with a decent YouTube channel that tells you, if you listen to the mainstream financial media for your advice, CNBC, Reuters, all of these people, hey, good source for news as events are happening, right? If you listen to them for advice or analysis, you I don't like your chances of it working out for you long term. You're betting against the vaccine, Matt. That's why people are betting on gold.
He's taking so many deep breaths before he goes off right here. He's just sitting there quietly with.
Oh, I mean, the level of stupidity that statement takes, I can't even go into a soapbox moment here, guys.
Was he caught off guard?
He must have been, because that's one of the dumbest analysis I've ever heard in my life.
Like, was he getting out of the cab, Mark, or something?
And this is on a day when Bitcoin's going up and all the Bitcoin lovers are out in the woodwork. So that says something. I'm honestly very, very surprised and shocked that somebody with the reputation of Jim Cramer would say something as dumb as that statement is. That has literally, that's not in, I was going to say, that's not even in the ballpark of analysis.
Oh, Matt is so trying to be diplomatic right now.
that is outwardly. I honestly, Mark, I'm trying to understand it, to try to understand where he would be getting that in any capacity. That's just not even in the realm of possibilities. That's not in the lexicon of analysis in any capacity, in any financial instrument. That's the worst analysis on any financial instrument that has ever been stated publicly in the history of mankind. That's how dumb that statement is. That's how ignorant that statement is. That is basically, I mean, how dumb of a statement that is, how ignorant of a statement that is, that truly leads me to believe that Jay Powell wrote him a big check to say that. That is how ridiculous of a statement. I honestly, guys, I cannot fathom the intellectual thought to even get into the zone of even thinking about that. I have no clue why anybody with a heartbeat and a brain would think about that as the analysis of why gold is going up, that people are betting on the world not getting a vaccine. That has nothing to do with anything. No intelligent human being that has ever lived would think that. I cannot believe he said that. I'm shocked. Kramer has said some things I disagree with before, but my God, the level of insanity you would have to have. Did Kramer have like 72 hours of sleepless nights here?
I gotta give you the follow-up. So I don't remember who the gentleman was, but they asked him, and they're like, well, why are stocks going up then? And he's like, well, people there are betting that there will be a vaccine. Hand to God, that's what he said this morning.
Oh my God. Listen,
Kramer had a long weekend, apparently. Yeah, maybe he, is getting ready to
Kramer, more gardening, less analysis.
Listen, we don't hate you, Kramer.
You should not analyze gold ever again. Nobody should ever ask you a question on gold or silver or precious metals in any capacity. Stay out of this lane. Stay out of this space. You have no clue what you're talking about. That is an ignorant statement that now ignorant people are going to hear and think that's the truth. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard on gold. And I've heard a lot of crazy theses on gold. That is the number one most batshit crazy thing I have ever heard on gold.
Oh, and we've heard some gold bugs say some outlandish things on gold before.
That's worse. That's worse.
Listen, the one thing I learned, my big takeaway this morning, and we're not anti-Kramer here. We don't bash Kramer. He's not who I go to.
I'm not an anti-Kramer guy.
But I like him. He's a likable guy.
I like Jim Kramer. I like Jim Kramer. I'm not anti-Kramer.
He is a good cheerleader for the stock market, right?
Absolutely. He is the head cheerleader.
He would make the next great part 2 Baghdad Bob. Baghdad Bob, the sequel, Kramer would do a great job.
Kramer needs to come out later today, and to save his reputation, he needs to come out and say, I make something up. I wasn't prepared. It was a weird question. I wasn't ready to analyze. I was speaking out of, I wasn't thinking. Come out and just apologize to the world community for how ignorant of a statement that is. That has nothing to do with it. And by the way, it's also an offensive statement that people like me are betting on gold going up because we hope a vaccine doesn't happen. Think about this a little bit more in depth. We all as gold bucks, we want the end of the world to actually happen so price appreciation goes up. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. Seriously, that is absolutely batshit crazy. That is a crazy statement to make. It's an offensive statement to make. And Jim Kramer, you should not analyze gold any longer. It should be on the no-fly zone. This is a no-fly zone.
Taken away.
Jim Kramer.
Booyah.
I think that might be part of the problem, actually, because these traditional Wall Street guys and financial media guys, Matt, they don't actually understand gold. I see.
Fine. Say that. Take the Warren Buffett approach. Take that. Say, I don't believe in the precious little metal because it's a shiny little rock. Say that. At least I can be like, yeah, you just hate gold. You're one of those individuals that just hates gold. I get it. I understand it. They're out there. It doesn't pay you a dividend. It's not a traditional stock. It doesn't have earnings. You can't break down numbers. I get that. Fine. Understand it. Just go that traditional route. Say, you know what? It's a precious little metal. I don't have the same belief in it that others do. But to make the anti-vaccine argument, I had a dream last night that FinTwit was all over the gold and silver, and I got mad because when FinTwit and the world embraces something, I usually get out on it. But Lord Almighty, you guys didn't prepare me for this. You hit this one. I honestly do not know what to say other than it's a really, really, really ignorant statement.
Yeah.
No, the thing I learned this morning is when Jim Cramer's on TV, do not be drinking Diet Pepsi while he's talking, or else it has the possibility of going all over your coffee table when he says something like that.
You did a spit take?
It was a moment. Like, you know, I was like, it was like, because we read.
And I want to be clear. I'm not anti-Jim Cramer. Not at all. He's an analyst. He's a cheerleader for the stock market. He is what he is. But that is one of the most ignorant statements I've ever heard from any financial analyst. And I'm not just talking about gold guys. I'm talking about anybody on Wall Street in the history of Wall Street. That is one of the most ignorant statements because it literally has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Mm-hmm. Nobody was thinking it. Nobody was analyzing it. He literally made it up in his head when he spoke it, and it has nothing to do with any part of analysis on any precious metal in the history of mankind or in the future of mankind. It will have nothing to do with it.
Oh, what a fun conversation, by the way. I did not know exactly how you would approach that, Maddie, because Mark shared that news with me earlier, and I had just I just shook my head for probably 5 minutes. Like, this stupid.
What is this anti-vaccine nonsense? All we've gotten is positive vaccine news every day in the last 2 weeks.
It's like he just
honestly, where does he get this? Where's the anti-vaccine movement?
It's honestly just like he used some trigger words in his head. There's nothing there. There's no logic to it.
Where in any part of the world is there an anti-vaccine argument?
And who's betting that we're not going to get a vaccine?
There's not been an anti-vaccine argument. There's not been one. Has there been one that I'm not aware of?
No, in fact, we have more positive news today from Moderna. Actually, that they're moving forward.
Another $472 million. Listen, as a gold guy, I am right now saying, good for Moderna. I want a vaccine. Jim Cramer, I'm a gold guy. I love this precious little metal, and I want a vaccine more than anything. I can't wait till we get a vaccine. I'm pro-vaccine. I think the world is pro-vaccine. I don't know where there's an anti-vaccine argument here. This is ridiculous. Cramer, more coffee, less coffee, something here. More tomatoes. Go pick more tomatoes in the morning.
Dude, I enjoy, his comments very often. In fact, I actually have had more respect for Cramer the last couple months. I like the way he's attacked day trading. I think he's had some good things to say. This one was nonsensical. It just was nonsensical. Let's move on. Let's keep talking metals here, Matt. You got to look at silver. I mean, gold's up 1.7.
If I have to argue with somebody about an anti-vaccine gold thing, I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to the mountains for 2 weeks, and I'm going to enjoy gold's run.
Go camp and come back, and gold might actually be, up in some of those targets we're talking about. By the way, silver's up 7% today, guys. I mean, Matt, you mentioned it. This is one of your favorite instruments, gold, but the tradable instrument might actually be silver, and we are taking off. We've been talking about silver now for a while.
Hey, can I ask our team real quick?
Sure.
I know a lot of our team invest in gold. They've enjoyed the run in gold and silver. We're pro commodities at Tackle Trading. Has anybody in our community thought in their thought process when you're analyzing gold or silver, thought, you know what, it's going to be really good for my investment if we don't get a vaccine?
I'm waiting for the chat to come in because there's a delay, but I've never even put the analysis together. Dude, with
I've never even read that in another blog article.
It makes no sense.
I honestly have never even thought that. I'm very, very surprised. I'm more surprised than anything right now. I'm shocked.
Well, dude, he was then asked about
reputation that Jim Cramer has to say something as silly as what he said. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not anti-Jim Cramer. I think there's things I agree with. There's things I disagree with. I don't understand where his mindset was with this one. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. He's a stock cheerleader or whatever. But he was then asked about silver, why silver's having such a good run up. And he said, well, there's a correlation between burrito eating at Chipotle and the price of – no, he didn't say anything.
But here's the crazy thing, Mark. I didn't know if you were here or not for about a split, at least a split second. It was like
I couldn't hold a straight face. I wanted to try to get through that. I couldn't hold a straight face.
Which one makes the most sense? The gold anti-vaccine argument or the Chipotle, correlation with burrito eating and silver price appreciation? Like literally, oh my goodness, both of them. If you were to say there's some correlation between burrito eating in the US and silver investment, I think that would be actually closer to an actual analysis than gold going up because it's an anti-vaccine kick. This is the most dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I've heard a lot of dumb things in my life. I
can now eliminate that bullet point from my notes and I will never revisit it because listen, it's just, but it does last thought on the matter. It's really important to get your information and get your analysis from people you trust. Doesn't have to be us, right? It can be someone else. Don't trust mainstream media though.
It is obvious that Cramer doesn't understand this area of the market.
No, they just don't understand it. That's the takeaway.
They don't get it. It's such a foreign vehicle to them. Cramer was the same guy that made the argument that silver is a safe haven, and that's why it's running last week. He made that argument last week.
Boy, he should just not talk precious metals.
Silver is not a safe haven asset. It's never been a safe haven asset. It's never been an inflationary asset. Literally, the price of silver versus from 1982 now, you've lost money off inflation. You have. You haven't with gold. Gold is the only safe haven precious metal. Silver, Cramer, is an industrial metal that is more based on the economy reopening up thing than anything else. So to me, it's like, you can't have it both ways here, Cramer. If silver, an industrial metal that runs with the economy opening up, and you say it's a safe haven, and now today the argument is gold's going up because of the anti-vaccine. How do you correlate those two arguments, the one he made on silver last week and the one he made on gold this week? They make no sense. Like zero. It's like if my child, my 11-year-old daughter came in and started analyzing silver and gold, she would be closer to a proper analysis than what I'm hearing from CNBC and Jim Cramer on this space. Stay away from it. Get out of it.
Stay away, Cramer.
Just stay away from it.
Yeah.
Go talk how everybody should buy stocks. Go do that. Go put your cheerleader outfit on. Go do that. Stay out of this space.
Well, I'm not going to stay out of it. In fact, that silver trade, I talked about how I covered it last week. Now I'm uncovered, Matt, and I keep looking at this and I'm starting to think, well, do you even cover it at all? I mean, I did that last week as a way to kind of just lock in a little bit of the profit. I got a nice little credit on a Friday that expired. Silver running here 7% on a Monday. If you're streaking right now and you're in covered calls, I'm not going to fault you. I get that one way or the other. I mean, Marky, how are you approaching this silver play?
I'm out. I got out because I took profits. So I'm currently out and it's running on me.
Last week, did you?
Oh, I'm uncovered now, Matt. So I'm streaking right now.
Last week I said, Adam, I said last week, target's 25, guys. And last week I said, where do you trail that stop loss? Right underneath 22 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you trail the stop loss. You give it room to run.
Well, and that's kind of what I did with SLV, by the way. I set the strike price to where if it hit 25 on the actual futures price, it would be taking my profit out of it. Now I'm sitting here with an uncovered position streaking, wondering, okay, if and when do I cover it again? I don't really want them to take my silver position, Matt. I know I could buy it back again, but I'm enjoying
Don't micromanage momentum is the suggestion I would give you.
That's probably 2020, man, when stuff takes off. Like you want to take profits like I did, like never a bad call, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not always the right call, but don't cover it. Either take profits or let it run.
Mm-hmm. More momentum across the board, by the way. Palladium is running like crazy and the dollar's down like crazy as well. In fact,
just really quickly on silver. I mean, we had a lengthy debate on silver, whether we were going to have silver in the scatter report this week. And I laid out an argument. You have to have silver. Yeah, does it need a couple days to cook? Probably, but you got to have it because you don't know when that next breakout's going to be. And shockingly, we got it on Sunday night coming into the Monday morning. I mean, the volume is supported. Momentum is taking hold here. You're currently at that secondary target at 25. I'd wait for a little slowing momentum and then break it down like we did last week. Find the intraday level of support you're willing to start trailing up that stop loss. I wouldn't lock in profit here the same way I wouldn't last week. I think you adjust that through stop loss management.
No, I read a stat that silver's week last week was its best week in 40 years. Ever since the infamous Hunt brothers tried to corner the market in 1980. So silver don't have those runs, right? Every week.
Do we remember what stopped that infamous Hunt price movement in silver?
Go ahead.
CME margin increases.
Was that 2011 when they were doing that?
No, this was 1980.
That was 1981, 1980.
Same thing back in the 80s. I did not know
That's their trick.
Oh yeah. No. That's what stopped silver's boom from 78 to 81 was margin increases. That's what stopped silver's boom in 2010, 2011 was margin increases. That's why that's why I've said many times, one of the biggest things that I'm looking at to stop this freight train is if the CME starts hinting at raising margin increases, because that's what they've done in the two biggest runs in silver, guys, that have happened historically are the one from 78 to 81, 82, and the one from 2008 to 2011. And you're seeing something very similar from that take hold right now. And so the only thing that really stops this freight train is the CME doing that.
It's a beautiful momentum play. It's been a wonderful thing. And Mark,
Damon Schrader, you're obviously fairly new to us. Damon says, could you share some ideas on how to hedge portfolio against currencies going down? Yes, you buy gold, and not because we're anti-vacciners. You buy gold because gold's an inflationary protection. It's also a hedge against your currency risk. So it's a hedge there, and it's a hedge against economic risk. So the three-pronged reasons why you own gold are: one, against currency devaluation, i.e. also inflation. And the second one is against economic risk. And the third one is against the ultimate currency risk, and that's currency going away. And so historically speaking, the number one hedge or protection against currencies, either through inflation, asset prices going up, or devaluation, currencies going down, equals gold, both of them. So gold 1, gold 2, gold 3, gold 4, gold through 5 through 10, gold would be the hedge against a portfolio against currency deflation.
Dude, I was sitting here thinking, if I wanted to short something betting against a vaccine, I'd short airlines. I'd short Boeing. There's a million things I would short or play if I wanted to bet there would be no vaccine. I got more choices than I know what to do with. That seems like it's...
Are you kidding me? We don't need vaccine analysis in gold when you have the central bank. You don't need it. The central bank's taking care of that.
You do? No.
You guys literally spoke earlier today. You opened the show debating the Democrat versus Republican, and Rand Paul making the argument, I just got done meeting with the socialists, and he's talking about the Republicans. That's all you need to understand why you invest in gold.
No, Matt, listen, we need to apologize to Kramer, because in late 2018 and 2019, when we were pounding the table to buy gold, any of our pro members, what we were really doing is that when COVID hit the next year, that we would be betting that there wouldn't be a vaccine against COVID. That's why we were pro.
I missed the boat here, right? In October of 2018, when I wrote the commodity report, saying the question in the commodity report was, is this the time to buy gold? And then I laid out the argument in that commodity report about why this is the time. Now you need to buying gold. That was October of 2018. I wrote that commodity report. Now, what I missed out on was thinking about how there was going to be a massive pandemic in 2020, and we were going to shut down the economy. And the entire debate around the world was how quickly we're going to get to a vaccine, and how in 2018, I should have thought that I need to be anti-vaccine to help my gold position. This is the level of insanity that is. I don't think anybody with a rational thought could go to the level that you need to go to think how crazy that is. It has nothing to do with anything.
By the way, I would put the over-under on the length of time that we could rant about this at about 2 hours if we wanted to, right? I mean, this one...
the only thing I'm taking is apparently I'm anti-vaccine. And
you must be.
bug is anti-vaccine now.
Yeah.
Apparently, all we are as gold bugs is have our guns in our heels and our anti-vaccine movement. Lord Almighty, get out of here.
Yeehaw. By the way, Adam already did get that meme on Twitter. It's fantastic. Tech earnings this week. Should I hold Microsoft? Collar or close? We don't want any blood on the floor. And it's got Joe Pesci there. It's amazing. Let's keep breaking down the markets. By the way, I saw a couple of interesting comments I just want to acknowledge as we're going through this. Matt, let's look at the dollar next. We're going to go into that one next. I saw from Osvaldo earlier. He says, I was able to grow a $200 investment into $2,500 in less than 2 months. Thanks to you guys. Thank you, Team Tackle. Osvaldo, no, that's your credit if you've done that. Just make sure that you're following rules. Yeah, that's all you, buddy. No, congratulations. I'm glad that you're new to this.
That's awesome, brother.
Do it the right way, though. Do it the right way. Don't start chasing or over leveraging or anything like that. Same advice I'd always give everybody. And then I saw this one from David. We'll get into this when we talk about Bitcoin in a second. Guys, I finally figured out Bitcoin's purpose. It is the equivalent of cash to millennials. I found this out when I had to fund my online sports bookie with Bitcoin. So he found a way to get his account funded there through Bitcoin. We'll take a peek at Bitcoin here in a minute. Matt, the dollar keeps sliding. I have no idea where the bottom is. It is.
It's simple. Dollars down on vaccine fears.
Yeah. It's free fall here, guys. Cody, Matt.
That's a complete joke.
Oh, I got you.
No, the dollar's just it broke support. I see this really as a technical movement. Just as that floor fell out, it just continues to move. Other currencies are taking in as the dollar's falling, the bottom's falling out of it. You look at other things like the Swiss franc, the Japanese yen, they're moving up, just in opposite of the US dollar. I'm waiting for a bounce here because even the euro against the dollar just is running right now. I'm waiting for a retracement to get in. If you miss the boat, you just got to wait for that retracement.
Well, I mean, the pound did break out though, Cody. There's still some pretty clean charts across the board. Yeah. Matt, it's just flat bearish. I don't know where we put this on the yard marker. Where did we set the dollar last week, by the way? I think like -25, something like that. It's definitely in a free fall zone. I mean, what are you seeing there in the chart, Matt? Just a downtrend extended?
Yeah, downtrend extended. I mean, guys, again, remove the vaccine information here, but when the central bank and the government are talking to the levels they've been talking about, that's going to have a prolonged impact on currency. It just is. This is why you own gold. Gold is not up because dollar's down right now. Gold's up because of the same reasons dollar's down.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do? $1.5 to $2 trillion in that next stimulus, guys?
Somewhere around there.
Right? What would that bring up the grand total year to date?
I think just in fiscal stimulus, that's $5 trillion.
5 trillion.
I think so. Yeah.
It'd be over $5 trillion at that point. And how much has the balance sheet increased in the last, say, we'll date from September last year now. We're up, I want to say about 4 trillion on balance sheet. So in the last year, including COVID, we've seen an increase in money supply by about 9 trillion plus debt. Okay, about 9 trillion plus debt. That equals about a 35% markup in the supply versus debt argument. That's why the dollar's down and that's why gold's up. It has nothing to do with the vaccine. It has everything to do with monetary supply and debt.
So why is Bitcoin up? Because it's getting some.
Because obviously Bitcoin is a safe haven asset. That's why, Tim.
We have to talk Bitcoin here today. I know that
not all day long.
Not all day long, but we got to take a peek at it. I mean, Matt, this is a very, very important level for the chart, in my personal opinion. Take all the analysis, all the news, all of that kind of stuff out of it. The reality is, the BTC chart now is pushing up and breaking out of some levels, Matt, that it has not seen in quite some time. Wonderful daily performance, really, really a beautiful just kind of takeoff here. Matt, just chart first, where is the breakout at? Because I was trying to look at that myself and I was looking back over different points of time. It's still just not quite confirmed yet because we're still open, but this is a 24-hour instrument as well. That's a breakout, right?
I personally would call a breakout above 10,000, a close above 10,000 a breakout is what I would personally call that. So yes, I think you have to call this a breakout. You obviously with Bitcoin, new tradable instrument, you got a lot of chop to the left here that you got to be concerned about. But Jim, that chop is upwards around 12,000, 13,000, 14,000. you certainly have room to run on Bitcoin above 10,000 up to about 12,000. So yeah, I would put that short-term target at 12,000. You see old resistance over here right after it was introduced into the futures market. You got some evidence over here right there at 12,000 as well. So I would say anything above 10,000. I know you got a little tiny chop right here at about 10,500. You got a little chop right there about 10,400. But I would call this a breakout above 10K here. Anything above 10K, I think you're targeting 12,000 here.
Yeah, I agree. What is the reason it's up?
It doesn't matter, man. What's the reason any of the stuff's up? It's all just, momentum. 2020, the year.
It's not going to be the reason everybody gives it today on Twitter. I can tell you that.
Listen, pretty orderly price action heading into this ramp up, and orderly price action, which has been followed by gigantic momentum runs, is usually, because you think about it, bears have all of the reasons in the last month. Nice support level, can't get it below, can't get it below, can't get it below. Ramp up momentum. Man, listen, you want to take a gamble, right? And I don't have any fundamental conviction like Matt. We don't have any fundamental conviction on Bitcoin. We've seen this song and dance in different areas, man. I'd be surprised if this momentum doesn't continue.
Well, speak for yourself on that. I have fundamental conviction. This is literally
I didn't say you.
Something I've been
left
holding.
The older, wiser, more thoughtful of the three brothers. I put us in a group.
Sure.
I knew you would come in chiming like a little chickadee dee.
Yeah.
Listen, Bitcoin's up because it's the digital equivalent of gold, and gold's up because people hope the end of the world happens. Bitcoin's up because it's the end of the world.
Or maybe just we don't trust fiat currency because they're printing so much money. I mean, could it just be simple?
And yet Bitcoin flatlines for 3 straight months while we're doing that. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, that consolidation obviously was there for a long time. We didn't even look at Bitcoin for months and months and months. That's the nature of this instrument.
All I'm going to say is this. If I hear, and I'm sure I will today, Bitcoin's up because of anti-fiat currency, Bitcoin's up because it's a safe haven. The only question I have for the Bitcoin lovers out there is then why hasn't it been running literally since September of last year? Why hasn't it been running in the last 3-4 months?
Mm-hmm.
Why has it not participated in these types of movements that other instruments have made in that same time frame? Why has gold been a freight train for months now, but Bitcoin hasn't?
All excellent questions, but man, we've seen this dance, man. Would it shock you?
I'm not anti-Bitcoin here.
Yeah. I just don't believe there's a difference.
Yeah. I'm not a believer, but I'm not anti-Bitcoin in any capacity. It's the analysis that I'm on right now that to me, this has nothing to do with what we're seeing in the price movement. I need to dig into this because what is driving this today, T? I mean, we're up 13-14%, up over 1,000 points.
Sure.
And we're breaking out of some significant areas of resistance. Whereas in the last 6-7 weeks, the market in Bitcoin has done nothing. Today's price movement is significant. Does the analysis match that and give you belief that this could continue to happen? I mean, you're the Bitcoin guy, T, here.
There's nothing in the fundamental news over the weekend. There was nothing new that would have changed your analysis from say 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. I mean, I guess you could point to all the things that people are pointing to: more stimulus money, the dollar's down, dollar breaking down. But that's just trying to kind of figure it out from reverse almost. I honestly believe it's just a technical breakout. Quite frankly, I think the momentum, the way this product has traded for years, I'm talking 5-6 years, Matt, is that when it catches momentum, it can truly run in a 24-hour, in a 1-week period. Things like that. I think the break happened, the volume started picking up, and boom, the crypto world is going crazy here because it's not just Bitcoin, by the way. Ethereum is up $80 in the last week alone, from 240 to 320. Where I really believe it is a technical breakout, Matt, and I think that people are just momentum trading.
Well, and it's almost like people had orders above 10,000,
right?
Right. It's almost like they had the orders out there above 10,000 to really take into that momentum. You're looking at a 15-minute chart here on Bitcoin. This is the futures gap right here coming into the futures market last night. You gap up over that 10,000, or excuse me, gap up right into that 10,000. And then look what happens right underneath 10,000. You just consolidate here for about 2.5 hours. Once you broke out, look at the momentum start to build here. You know, obviously people always got to give it a reason for something, especially after our Kramer discussion earlier on gold. Whatever that reason is, to me, this is a technical event above 10,000. And honestly, if the entire move was solely predicated on it being a technical move above 10,000, I would support that, and I would have a bigger bullish philosophy on Bitcoin than if it's any other reason that anybody on FinTwit gives or anybody in traditional media gives. If that is an order taker above 10,000 and you have massive orders coming into that, you have volume to also kind of support that thesis, to where once you saw that breakout, look at the volume start to pick up right here. You start to see that volume pick up. Look at the volume pick up at the cash open. Boom, boom, boom. That gives me a little more confidence going into it, knowing that this is more of a technical move than it is a fundamental move. Because quite frankly, I think, and I'm not trying to throw shade on the Bitcoin holders, Tim. I used to be one, but it does seem like the Bitcoin lovers want to make Bitcoin behave so much like gold that they just wish it out there in the world like it's the secret, and they just believe that it's going to happen. To me, that's not what's going on. To me, today, this is a technical movement in Bitcoin.
All right, let's say that technical move continues. There's a couple different instruments you might be able to want to play. Take a gamble. Pull up GBTC. GBTC has pretty decent volume. What would you look for technically to play GBTC? And this is a momentum
Honestly,
play only.
If I was analyzing GBTC like a stock, I'd say give me 3 or 4 days of consolidation and break out at 12.5.
All right, what about Riot? RIOT.
What's this?
Riot here.
They own Bitcoin, their Bitcoin mining operation.
I would say this is a penny stock that you should stay away from.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the GBTC thing, I get that people want exposure through the ETF, but that's not a very clean chart. It's not the way that I play Bitcoin personally.
Yeah, but it follows. It's like GLD.
Sure.
I mean, it's going to follow the Bitcoin price action.
If you don't have access to a crypto
Bitcoin
account,
specifically in Bitcoin using crypto brokers, though.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Just directly go through a broker.
You're a real Bitcoin guy. Mark's trying to find a way to be a fake Bitcoin guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Tim, Tim wants to own the underlying commodity.
Oh, I totally played Riot. I totally played Riot this morning, full disclosure. So just,
Oh, I knew you were talking your book.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I understand the desire that if you're already kind of like, used to working through the markets through your own brokerage account, the way that you are trying to find an ETF that matches a product that you want to play, right? I get that. I do get that. I think the purest way to play Bitcoin, though, is directly through Bitcoin. I think you got to find... there's some education there, right? There's a learning curve about getting an account up and running and how they work and how to fund it and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think, unless you're playing the futures market, which futures are fine too, as well, you can play that BTC futures contract. But for a lot of people, that's a full Bitcoin mark. They can't piece it out.
It's expensive leverage for certain accounts. Listen, I'll be damned if Bitcoin goes to 16,000 in the next 2 weeks and I don't make a little bit of lunch money. That's all I'm saying. So
well, and the SEC might be damned to ever see options on GBTC. By the way, I don't think that you're going to see those anytime soon. So your real only exposure here is directly through the equity, and you can't play the options on it. I just can't imagine them adding leverage to a product like this that they cannot control, Matt. There's a reason why they're not there, because if they had options, people would play them, but I don't think they want that product, quite frankly. So to me,
if they wanted a true ETF that matched Bitcoin, they would have had it 3 years ago.
I agree. Yeah,
there is an anti-Wall Street movement on the crypto space.
Yeah. Yep. All right, guys, let's talk individual companies here. There's a few companies in the news that I do want to get down to and kind of analyze. Matt, let's start with that Moderna news and have a conversation about it. This is a little bit different on this, and mRNA, I believe, mRNA. I think you get that one wrong like 80% of the time, by the way.
No, which one do I get wrong more? That one. There's another symbol I constantly get wrong.
Yeah.
I've analyzed palladium and platinum for 15 years now, and I get those ones mixed up all the time. But I do. I got a little dyslexia with this one. I always go MNRA. Always, every single time. I think 80% might be low here, T.
I agree. You know, what isn't low is the amount of money they've been getting from the US government here recently. A couple months ago, I believe they got like $450 million at the time. Yeah. They just got another $472 million of funding to keep pushing their vaccine trial through, and 30,000. This is interesting because this is a phase 3 trial, and now 30,000 volunteers are presumably going to be signed up to take this.
Argument, right? That's a pro-vaccine argument.
I would guess. Yeah.
Okay, and Moderna's up 9% on the pro-vaccine argument, right?
Why is gold up?
Wait a second. This is good for vaccine news, right? This is
positive vaccine day. Absolutely.
This positive. I just want to make sure I'm clear. Positive vaccine news.
Very.
It
positive.
Is.
I am so disgusted that gold is up right now.
Oh. It should be down based on Kramer's logic. That would make sense.
Again,
if you had a positive
vaccine. Kramer, if you watch the halftime report, because we know some on Wall Street do. So Kramer, if you're watching the halftime report later on today, I just want to be very clear, Kramer. I am pro-vaccine. I'm also pro-gold.
Mm-hmm.
And Kramer, I'm pro-silver as well. I'm pro-silver, and none of that has to do with anything in the vaccine space.
There's no correlation. They're completely separate analysis.
There's nothing I'm going to be thinking about the rest of the day besides that article.
Dude, you had a dream of
ruined my day. No. Thank you so much for ruining my day. I appreciate that.
This is perfect because you were dreaming about arguing with somebody who was doing something stupid last night, I believe. Matt, you had a dream. You woke up. You know.
I was.
Yeah.
I had a dream that the Wall Street and FinTwit, no, not Wall Street, but a financial advisor made an argument that silver was going to go down in price because financial Twitter had fully embraced silver. And I was so mad because that matched some of my personal philosophy in life that I was scared silver was going to go down a little bit. I was having like a silver gold type, dream last night. So yeah, my whole day's shot completely. It's just gone.
This Kramer thing is thrown away for you.
It's done. I can't analyze anymore.
But no, I do want to talk about something with the vaccine and also with COVID in general, by the way, because this is obviously very, very good news. But there was a news story out of Major League Baseball. Did you catch any of the games, Matt, over the weekend? Did you get a chance to watch anything?
No, I didn't watch any baseball games. I did, like I do in regular season baseball, I always just track the A's. Right. Mm-hmm. Watch the box score and do stuff like that. But no, I didn't watch any of the games.
Pull up DKNG, Matt, because 14 Marlin players got COVID-19, 14 Marlin players and staff had to cancel some games. And it's putting a real, because baseball, DraftKings, MGM, Penn National Gaming, a lot of individuals make a lot of money on sports, on baseball. Football is the cash cow. And there is that, if they can't get it right in baseball, how in the world are they supposed to get it right in football? Mm-hmm. With the amount of contact that football players do. And it's just putting this real, dour mood in casinos, in, companies like DraftKings today. And it's a real concern, right? I mean, do you believe that there will be a 16-game football season?
You guys are the ones that gave me the news on Major League Baseball. And my initial thought was, how in the world are they going to have the NFL?
Yeah, it's the first place your head.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first place my head went. The
NBA. Now, let's think about that for a second, because like with baseball, Matt, you can strap a glove off a minor league guy and get him out there, right, for a game. Because they have more games, I think.
Fine. Why cancel games then?
Yeah, well, because they don't have the 13 people obviously is going to have to delay or cancel it, but they do taxi squad up to 30 players for rotation. So I think baseball will get guys coming in.
The normal baseball roster's 25. The playoff roster's above 25. Even rostering up to 30 people in this environment, That's not efficient when you're really just talking about playoff type rosters at that point. I mean, and by the way, they're not even playing the minor leagues this year.
Right. I think a lot of those players are going to get called up, quite frankly. You're going to see more of this. Now, with football, though, you can't just call people up. I mean, it's just not going to work that way. Football roster, what are we talking? 53 active, game day players,
45 game day, 53 active
53 on the roster
spots, and they're doing some COVID roster spots, obviously, as well. But it's not the amount of players they can fill. I'm sure the Major League Baseball can find enough people to put a glove on to play a game. I'm sure the NFL can find enough helmets to put a game on. It's the fact that if 14 players at one location got COVID and they have to start postponing baseball games on the first instance of a major outbreak like this, how are they going to do it when it happens with more than one team?
I don't know. I think it's going to be very tricky. And quite frankly, I think you're going to see more stories like this day over day over day.
And that's why the NBA, at least as of right now, the NBA is really kind of the model citizen when it comes to trying to figure out how to play games in this environment. I mean, go bubble in Orlando, have strict quarantine restrictions. If people break it, they put them in quarantine for 10 days. Lou Williams broke it from the Clippers. I'm not going to talk about why he broke it from the Clippers, but he broke it. He's 10-day quarantine. They haven't had really any major issues out of the NBA. So if you can create a bubble-like environment for NFL and Major League Baseball, maybe DraftKings is a winner here. But as of right now, I mean, this isn't good news for DraftKings.
No, it's not. It's not. And, everybody wants sports to come back. I think it will just be symbolic for Americans if we can get it. But the more you get stories like this where they got to shut it down and shut it down and shut it down, I wonder if that weighs on sentiment at some point, Mark.
And I just like to put this out there. If you're watching Yankees, I always wanted to be the second baseman in the major leagues. I've been in a bubble for 4 months. So if you're interested in having someone come in and fill a spot, I'm happy to fill the grounder or two. So
like old Chuck Knobloch. We'll see if you can throw it to first base.
Listen,
absolutely.
Joe Morgan
I don't know if Mark could beat Chuck Knobloch's famous throw from second to first base, though. Dude, he might beat that on the first pitch. Like Mark gets a grounder. Is Mark closer to throwing it to the pitcher or first base on his first grounder to second?
Oh, listen, I can throw. Listen, I don't have.
I can act tough when I'm sitting in front of a computer.
Listen, old Steve Sachs and his throwing problems. He was the. Listen, I know my second baseman.
Boshy's more accurate than Mark throwing to home.
That is just some insulting shit right there.
Oh, Chuck Knobloch with his throwing troubles is one of the stories in sports I'll never forget in my life, Matt. He was
fantastic.
He was a player that was just a great player at second base, and then all of a sudden just boom, he's gone. It was a mental thing. When you get in front of 60,000 people and you're on TV, Mark, and you start getting the shanks.
Hey, and those of you who don't know, we do have a video of Mark throwing a baseball before. It's right here.
Oh my God.
Got the mask on.
Listen.
This is Mark throwing a baseball. Look at that. It's so fantastic.
Yeah, listen. Nobody did this. I wanted you to do this. Who's the Call Me Maybe girl that sung that song?
Carly Rae Jepsen.
There you
go. Find Carly Rae Jepsen's first
pitch. Did I get it right? Hold on. Did I get it right?
Carly Rae Jepsen. Yes, you did.
Thank you.
And you call me the girl who can't.
I have daughters. Boom.
Listen, go find Carly Rae Jepsen's first pitch baseball. It literally is the worst first pitch ever. You're not going to beat it. So
when you said
Mark's trying to build up the suspense so that he could be the worst pitch thrower ever.
Oh my, where is this hate coming from today?
I have no idea. I've seen Mark.
It was Chuck Knobloch's throw. It got me on it.
My name is not Jim Cramer. Take your hate and put it somewhere else.
You triggered him. You did trigger him. There's no doubt about it.
You saved it. You could have gave me that information. I know you watch CNBC. I don't watch CNBC. You could have gave me that information in pre-production. You saved it. You deserve the hate.
I am not confirming nor denying that accusation.
Fair enough.
Some more. We all know it. The entire halftime crew knows you saved that.
Hey, but pull up Penn, because I mean, it's not just DraftKings on this news. Oh, Davey Day Traders, Penn National Gaming having a rough day today on the news. Pull up MGM.
Did you watch the Portnoy Trump interview?
I didn't watch.
I haven't seen it yet, but I
gotta
will.
watch it. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
No, so I mean, we got a lot of downward pressure in the space today, you know, and this is one of those things that can build. This is not a one day type event. This is the type of thing that can build in this space.
You know, it's not just Penn or DraftKings, by the way. It's all the casinos. Win is down. A bunch of them are down here today as well. So obviously pressure because every casino, every sports book, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
you can only bet on Korean baseball so long, like, you know, so.
I get it though, but there's not a bigger sport to bet on than the NFL, guys.
Dude, it's a big deal.
Like Major League, and they all combined, they probably come up to like the Super Bowl. That's how big the NFL is. If Major League Baseball canceling a couple games has a 8% downward movement in Penn and a 10% downward movement in DraftKings and wins down 5%. What do you think that, and Mark, this question to you, I know you're the gambler here. What does that mean to these companies if we do see some negative news on the NFL? And by the way, let me preface, I hope not. I want to watch the NFL this year. I want to play fantasy. I need fantasy this year. I need fantasy this year more than I need it in any other year. And I don't think I'm any indifferent than a lot of other people out there. But what does that mean to this space if we start to see a little bit of volatility? And it kind of makes me want to personally stay away from this space in the market.
Marky, he was specifically asking you the question.
Well,
You're just thinking about throwing baseballs.
I'm thinking about, listen, and it's a hard one because in a normal year, a NFL getting cut would be catastrophic to DraftKings or Penn or casinos just because of the amount of volume. But and it certainly means downside. It could serve as a downside catalyst to send it lower without a doubt. But man, we're in this give everybody a pass environment. So for beat up stocks, I think it would mean less. For stocks that are not beat up like Penn and DraftKings, it probably is a lot worse than the MGM in Las Vegas. Still would get clipped a little bit on the news. But you know, there's this whole, these stocks are beaten up anyways, but stuff that's up on the year, stuff that's up significantly on the year, like DraftKings and Penn, it could clip them pretty good.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they just play that baseball game though? Why are they postponing or canceling it? You got 14 guys out. You got a 30-man roster. Just play it. Get 9 guys out there. Or do they got to do testing or something, Matt?
I don't know. Who knows what the protocols are?
Yeah.
But you can't play a Major League Baseball team and have it a fair game with 16 people on the roster on one side and 30 on the other.
Yeah, but if they're not willing to do that,
a fair baseball game.
They're not going to get games played. You know, if they're not willing to do that kind of stuff, you know, it's going to be tough.
If they're not willing to do that, they need to shut down baseball then.
Dude, that you could have a legitimate conversation around that, but the money part of it, they're obviously going to try to push it. More on that as it develops. Let's go through a couple of company news, companies that are in the news here today, Matt. Garmin, and this is an interesting one to me. I don't know if you guys saw this news. They actually had their systems around the world kind of shut down. They might have actually had positive news during the halftime report here today because that green candle is battling back. Matt, basically a hacker came in, took over their systems to where people who use Garmin's couldn't use them, you know, and they were ransomed on this. And basically, if you pay me $10 million in Bitcoin, I will release and unlock your systems. I thought that was incredible news. There might be something going on with that candle because it is now battling back here. Anything there, Matt? Just it's a reminder in 2020 that we're getting these just attacks, you know, cyber security attacks. We saw Twitter get hacked last week or, you know, the week before. We're seeing Garmin now being attacked. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this news, by the way. I just thought it was noteworthy.
I think you know me and Mark's take on this news.
Not interested in it. Boeing delayed the 777X for up to a year. We're going to see more of this down the pipeline as it develops. You know, obviously that is kind of stuck in the mud here and finding support, but now we're below the 50-day moving average for the first time, running right into earnings season here and their earnings report this week. Matt, this is going to be an interesting one on the earnings. More negative news out of Boeing, and we're going to keep seeing some of that.
Let me just preempt Boeing's earnings. They're going to be terrible.
Terrible.
God awful. Yeah. Worst in Boeing's history. That doesn't mean Boeing goes down. but their earnings numbers are going to be terrible.
Yeah. And one thing on these distressed companies that need people that they've had this resilient floor, like across the board, airlines, movie theaters, all this, these floors. That floor is, I mean, pull up Carnival, CCL. For the first time, some of these companies are breaking through some of these shorter term horizontal support levels. And they've been so resilient, so resilient, so resilient. And you're seeing some cracking today of the short-term support levels. You know, and it's just, I mean, there hasn't been any good news on COVID for weeks and weeks and weeks, as far as specifically on the numbers, on the reopening. And these stocks have been surprisingly resilient in the face of a very long stretch. And you're starting to see some cracks today in those support levels for the first time.
Yeah, that's breakdown right there. You know, you're breaking
Well,
below.
I was gonna say it's not, to me, that's not a little crack. That's a full-on break of a major support level.
Yeah,
that's shortable, guys.
I agree. Yeah. And this entire area of the market, that reopening theme and all those kind of things that popped in May. I mean, Matt, these charts have been broken up. And this is the accumulation now of a couple of months where they've just been coming back and now breaking into support. And if you look at Boeing,
yeah,
I mean, if you're
that was my main
post-earnings,
thought on Boeing, because Boeing has that support level as well. It's not its earnings report that scares me, it's that support gives out.
yeah, and if you go post earnings and you have support fail mark, there's not a lot down there to hold it up, you know.
Nope. That's what happens when you rise too fast. When you get that parabolic move up, doesn't build nice support levels. Below 50.
And I was going to say the same thing on Boeing. If you remove the earnings from this week, I mean, that's a shortable opportunity on Boeing as well. Obviously, with earnings in right in front of us, you don't want to do anything. You want to kind of wait for the post earnings type price move to kind of see where the market wants to take Boeing. But with Carnival, Tim, this is an area of the market that has shown some weakness for the last 3-4 weeks here since that failed bullish retracement. And just remember what I said about the Chinese. One of the reasons why I'm out on the Chinese right now is they had that failed bullish retracement. Well, as you see Carnival here, right? You have that bullish retracement, 3-day pop up in there, big red candle, and then look what happens to Carnival. Boom, 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 boom. Take a look at FXI real quick. You know, nice little bullish movement, retracement down to the 20, pop, 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 3-day movement, big red candle. Then what happens to FXI? So now you're looking at Carnival and you're saying, wow, where can it go down? Well, you violate that 14.5 support level right now. You're currently at 1381. 1050. I mean, excuse me, 1150 by 10. That's a short setup there.
The $10 target's a 35% target as well. I mean, people are looking at the numbers like, well, there's not a lot of room down there. No. There's
no. That's a 30% decrease in price. That's a wonderful shorting opportunity. Now, obviously, it goes without said, this space can be very volatile with the news on a daily basis. Yeah. You got to withstand some of that volatility, but that's a violation of support.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing some charts across the board that are kind of setting up in that regard. Let's keep working through a couple more here, Maddie. Hasbro had their earnings today. Mark, did you get a chance to take a peek at that, by the way?
I did. Less toys sold around the world. Another casualty of COVID, not as many kids. And this is an interesting thing overall about consumer discretionary money. So Hasbro's earnings, the specific numbers, they were shy on revenue last year, 984 million, this year only 860. So a clip of what is that, 13, 14, 50% in that ballpark. EPS, they made money last year. They did not lost 25 cents a share this year. So less toys sold, less profitable company. And it's an interesting thing because the income numbers we have is that overall Americans have had more money. Where are they spending that money? And a lot of them are saving it. A lot of them are pumping it into stocks. A lot of them are paying down credit card bills, but less discretionary spending on certain items.
Does Hasbro own Roblox?
I do not know the answer.
I need to look that up now.
The answer is no, which means I'm not interested. Where are parents spending money? They're buying Roblox bucks. Do they have an app-based game? Tim, what did we
Who
give your
does-
daughters for their birthday present? Do you remember?
iTunes
See-
cards.
I did not know. Are your kids also playing Roblox incessantly?
Oh yeah.
Dude.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
We
I
gave
just
them
thought that,
Roblox gift certificates, Mark, for their
no,
birthday.
Roblox is going crazy in my house too. And we need to look into
yeah.
that. Like, when did that become the new hot thing?
Like a year ago, 2 years ago, we woke up one day and all of a sudden we're old. But Hasbro, I mean, do you guys have any interest in a company like Hasbro?
No, that weekly chart you brought up even made me less
Listen, and
interested in the interest in
have,
shorting that.
have you had this experience? My daughter's playing Roblox, and I'm there trying to be a good parent, monitoring what she's playing. And some guy comes in with a sword and chops her character's head off. Chops
I didn't know
her into-
Roblox was violent.
You were
I
playing
didn't
a
either.
different game.
Is that a different game?
That's
It's
a
got it.
different game.
I
That's
don't-
not Roblox.
That doesn't sound. I mean,
I would not let my 11-year-old play a game where some dude 45 years old can cut off her
Listen,
head.
nobody's
they're
going to
not-
give me Parent of the Year award. All right, listen. So that's not
Kirby's out there
Roblox.
playing like what's that one game? Grand Torino,
Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto.
I don't.
Poofy's
I gotta
playing
say,
Grand Theft Auto.
I swore it was Roblox. They killed her character and
She
immediately
might have
came
told
back
you it was
alive.
Roblox. She was playing Grand Theft Auto, bro.
I
No,
think
she
you
was
need
not
to
playing
talk to
Grand Theft
Pookie.
Auto.
She might be pulling one over on you here because I haven't seen that with Roblox, although I don't exactly watch and play a lot. By the way, Roblox private company. It's its own independent
Yeah,
brand.
they make bank though.
Dude.
My point is this: Hasbro, traditional, type company. I don't know. It kind of reminds me a little bit of GameStop, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, we did pull a board game out the other day, but are people buying new board games? Obviously, they're not. The revenues were down a bunch, and EPS only came in at 2 cents versus 23
I have
cents.
$300 worth of board games Mark gave me for Christmas last year that he
haven't
was
opened.
trying, secondary gift.
I
Yeah,
wasn't
He was
trying
done
to
with them, and he's
secondary
like,
gift.
Merry Christmas.
dude, I still got to crack a few of those open. They're still in the wrappers for me down in my basement. I have a few of those as well. But Hasbro, I have no interest in. In fact, Matt, that weekly chart is so ugly that I think you've got shorting opportunities here. Albertsons, a company I am interested in, ACI, if you can. They had earnings this morning as well, and they came out and they beat 135 on the actual EPS number versus $1.30 on the forecast. Marky, did you get a chance to look at Albertsons?
Yeah, I didn't get into detail. I saw that same store sales were up 26%. Digital sales up 276%.
And
Those
give me
gross-
ACI when you get a second.
So I mean, not probably anything that we didn't know. A lot of grocery shopping. Also, just the cost associated were higher, obviously, causing some concern on margins and overall profitability. Going to be really looking at that on Amazon. The increased safety costs that Bezos last quarter said would be a potential barrier to profitability this quarter. So I thought it was a just fine report. Why market sells off on any one day? Hey, Microsoft sold off too on earnings, right? But I like the digital sales. I actually like this. This actually strengthened my desire to perhaps pick up Albertsons on the cheap at some point.
You know what? You guys are missing it here. This reminds me of the good old days when you used to see 50 cents on a $14 stock on their price chart. Like things that like this big red canopy, like, oh my goodness, the end of the world just happened. It went from 16 to 15 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah, it does look bigger from context. There's no doubt about it.
There is such a joke there. It does look bigger from context.
We're lucky we don't have Gino here.
That's true. Matt, now you've got an earnings under their belt. I know ACI is a company that we've talked about in the past. You're an IPO here. You've got one earnings. If you get technical setups, could you trade ACI now that you're past one earnings?
I trade no for the same reason I just said. It's interesting to see a 50-cent chart there or a 50-cent, 25-cent price movement on their chart. No, I mean, Albertsons is never going to be a company you trade. Albertsons is going to be a company you treat as, a Kroger, for example. You take a position in it, you invest in it. It's a food-based company. We're not talking about a high-flying tech stock here. So no, the Albertsons is never going to be on a trading watch list. Doesn't mean you won't have good trade setups, but it just the space, the company, just it doesn't scream trade me, right? I think you invest here, but do you invest today? No, I think you wait for deep risk price action, deep value here on Albertsons is what I'd wait for.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like Albertsons is like this new. I mean, it's a new IPO, right? But it's not a new.
Been around our entire lives.
You got plenty of financial information to make your own decisions. So I
Yep.
mean, established company just happened to IPO recently. Yeah, but I like digital sales. I like the digital sales movement in groceries. I think it's really important, and I think I mean, once again, I love my Walmart digital pickup. So, but you need that. You need that because it is a growing segment of the population. Listen, if you have not ordered your groceries and picked them up, it's a fabulous experience. I love it.
Still have not tried it. I need to try that, Marky, with Walmart or something like that. Even my Harmons here locally, they do it. I'm going to give it a shot.
Because you keep risking COVID to make sure you get the firmest cantaloupe. All right, like
I like that, and the milk, right? I want to.
Yeah, you got to get. Hey, yeah, it's worth risking COVID so you can get that expiration date that's 4 days later, right? That's really worth it. So.
They're fair points. Last one for me here, guys. Intel, then Taiwan Semiconductor, if you can hear, Maddie. We talked about Intel on Friday, and obviously just a very catastrophic earnings report and some of the delays behind some of their chips. It brought Intel down to a very, very low level, that gap down. They actually announced over the weekend, I don't know if you guys saw this, they're going to go and do an outsourcing agreement with Taiwan Semiconductor to get some of their, and I think it's their Series 6 chips. They still are delaying the one. They don't know when they're going to get production on this. But Mark, basically more bad news for Intel, more now very, very good news for TSM. Intel's price chart is down here today, but if you look at TSM, up another 11% on this news and running, and semiconductor stocks are just hot. Marky, I mean, how do you even unpack the Intel chart at all and the news? And are you interested in the momentum in some of these semiconductors?
Well, I mean, that's not momentum. That's runaway. I mean, you're not going to get a technical signal for a long time, 7, 8, 9 days on Taiwan. That, you might get
there's
like two.
Mark, I was going to say the same. There's no new news here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
This is the news from Intel's earnings report on Thursday night.
I mean, when
I don't think they announced that outsourcing, though. I think that is new. They just
whatever it is, it's still further on their delays till 2023 on their Nano 7 chip. So
I mean,
no, this is, to me, this is just a continuation of what we saw on Friday.
Yeah, dude, listen, 2020, things move fast, right? Like things are fast. You still got to be patient and wait for your technical setups. You got to wait, otherwise, I mean, you are just gambling, right? You're just gambling on a trading point of view. You want to day trade something great, but be patient. And I'll continue to talk about nothing for about 8 more seconds. So Tim's dog stops.
Oh, he needs to quarantine that idiot dog. Is what he needs.
So.
Hey, listen, he lets me know when somebody comes to the door.
Is there any way I can convince you just to take it back to the Humane Society? I mean, is there?
No, dude, it's got papers. I mean, that is a champion dog right there. I don't know what you're talking about.
That dog is nobody's champion.
Yes, absolutely he is. Yeah, little Freddie. All right, guys, that's it for me from a news perspective. Obviously, if you're out there and you're watching our show for the very first time, we do this each and every day here on the Halftime Report. We're only about 40 subscribers away from our 10K. We're going to have a big event. We're going to be talking about that as we come down the pipeline, getting closer to it, making some announcements and whatnot. If you've not yet done it, click subscribe, click the bell, come back and join us each and every day. And if you are watching our show right now and you enjoy our content, give me that thumbs up. Let's get the analytics out there. It helps us get the word out. Matt, over the weekends, obviously at Tackle Trading, we always put a lot of work into the reports. If you're a pro member, make sure that you've gone through that content. There's a lot of great analysis in those reports, as well as really good setups across the bull and bear watch list that I went through and reviewed here today. There's a bunch of really good good ones. Go and check that out if you're a pro. If you're not yet a member of tackletrading.com, we got a pretty standard offer to get you into our community as a part of what we do. It's a 15-day trial. And in fact, the link right underneath the description of this report each and every day will have a 15-day trial link on it, or you can go right to the website. Right on that front page, there's a link for the 15-day trial as well. Maddie, any final thoughts here for the team out there?
Yeah, you guys, this was a sabotage today, is what this was. Okay, this was a sabotage in the Quentin Tarantino, Brad Pitt type Inglorious Bastards type setup today. You guys knew I had a rough night sleeping, had a terrible dream about silver, and then you set me up with Kramer and
I can't take credit.
Analysis. You guys set me up today. I'm not happy, and I promise you the payback, the revenge. It will be swift. It will be dirty. It will be nasty, and I will be like the Chinese. You won't see me coming.
Oh, so you do believe that China's going to do something, huh? Yeah, that's
I was playing into your 48 hours of quiet talk.
Listen, I'm willing to do anything in order to create great content for the halftime report, and I thought it was fabulous content.
Listen, now I got to go research what Jim Cramer said to make sure you guys didn't like make him sound like worse on the gold side than he really was. I got to look into that because I think there was a little setup going on here. That's right, Jonathan. I'm going V for Vendetta. I am putting the V in Vendetta on this one. It's going to happen. I'm going to get my revenge. It won't be tomorrow. It might not be the next day. It might not be this week. But I promise you, I have a long memory, and I am going to keep it. I am going to, I am going ninja style on this one.
Sure. Yeah.
Johnny loves chachi.
The great secret, though, is that you truly enjoyed that more than you could ever express. So those soapbox moments, don't act like
no. I
do not act like you're a victim here, because
when you said
that's like giving you a gift.
When you said to me, this is going to trigger Matt, like quickly, I went through the level of things that you guys could say that would trigger me. At no point did I think you were going to tell me that there was going to be an anti-vaccine Wall Street movement on buying gold. I like literally that never approached the. And guys, I can go conspiracy Matt real fast, right? Think all the angles, all the analysis. It never brought into the lexicon. I'm still in shock that I'm so in shock by that I believe you guys did not. You guys made it sound worse than it was just to trigger me.
Well, I wasn't even going to bring it up. I wish I could take credit for this. I'm happy
I was going to bring it up.
Look at that smirk. Look at that smirk over there.
Oh, all right. Well,
listen, final thoughts out of me. Listen, it's a big, huge, massive week of news. Just massive FMOC and antitrust hearings and trillion-dollar company earnings and stimulus talks. Just recognize that it's going to be a huge, massive news week. Yeah, I think you're gonna. I think it's a great day trading week. I think days like today, days like tomorrow. I don't know where the news will flow, but I think it's gonna be a great day trading week. And if you're going for big, huge home runs in 2 weeks, realize that there's going to be a day probably go against you because of news. So just trade accordingly.
By the way, and let me think about the answer to this. I want you guys to think about it. Maybe we can talk about it on the podcast here. We're going to record today. We always do that on Mondays. But what's the greatest revenge movie of all time? You mentioned V for Vendetta. I saw John Wick here in the chat as well. What is the greatest revenge movie? Because I think John Wick is up there. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, greatest
revenge movie.
What about Django?
Django's a good one.
Good.
Yeah.
Kill Bill.
Kill Bill is fantastic for that.
That's up there for great ones.
Mm-hmm.
Gladiator.
The Count of Monte Cristo. You guys remember that one?
Sure.
Oh, that is, yes, I do.
That's a really good revenge one.
Gladiator. The whole story was about revenge.
Gladiator's a fantastic revenge one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go, listen, I loved Kill Bill. I was a huge Kill Bill fan, though. And I know it some people loved it, some people didn't, but I loved Kill Bill. I'm going to go Kill Bill because I loved it.
I'm going to go with Payback, Mel Gibson, my favorite Mel Gibson.
Payback's a good one.
Fantastic revenge movie. Absolutely.
Mean Girls. Mean Girls.
I mean, that is a revenge movie. Like, you know,
it's a revenge movie.
And
I'm
it's
gonna go
really
with I'm gonna go not with movie. I'm gonna change it. TV show. I watched it recently, The Punisher.
Yeah, it's excellent. And that guy, what's his name? I always forget his name, but he's excellent.
I love him.
He is good in almost everything he does. He was so good in the
Princess Bride.
Yeah.
You guys are like John Wick. What are you guys talking about? The Equalizer.
mention
Washington.
I did see Sleepers, Greg. I remember that show from the 90s. That's a pretty good payback movie as well. Yeah, underrated movie, pretty good one. Now you're getting me all nostalgic here. I'm going to have to go watch some of these movies. We are watching the debt clock here, I guess, to finish our show. But
well, we're watching it because this is the only analysis you actually need on why.
And the debt clock is the ultimate revenge on those grandchildren that haven't been born yet,
no.
but you're going to hate.
Owning
anyways.
gold is the ultimate revenge.
No, I'm talking about the grandchildren you hate. We're leaving them trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars because screw them, right?
I want to be very clear. There's no anti-vaccine number on this.
Dude.
There's no anti-vaccine number. This number here is really the only number you really need to look at. All the other is just evidence of why you own gold.
Yeah, but go spend more and more money. Listen, it's all disgusting, right? It's all
this
disgusting.
website always gives me anxiety. We've got to wrap this one up. All right, guys, we're done here today. We'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy it. By the way, we're going to go cut a podcast here, so we're going to have some fun doing that. Tradingjustice.com. But outside of that, we're done here today. We'll see you guys tomorrow.